So today's video is on the PropTrack home price index for February 2024. So who doesn't love speaking about how much house prices are increasing if you own property? So firstly, we've got national home prices hit a new record high of up 6.15% compared to a year ago. So comparing February to February, house prices have gone up on average across the whole country 6.15%. So demand is actually still meeting supply. Demand is ferocious at the moment, especially in Brisbane, Adelaide, and Perth. Melbourne and Sydney, the demand is still there, but buyers have a bit more choice as there is heaps of stock coming onto the market. So the reason why this demand is going nuts, it's basically because there is an anticipation that rates are going to get cut soon. Most pundits are predicting that rates are going to cut probably halfway through the year in June. And this is fueling the market because people are saying, well, if I can afford it now with rates as high as they are, rates are only going to go down. So it's going to become cheaper for me to own this property or to own this house. And this is why I'm going to jump in now. My view is contrary to this. I still think the RBA is going to shock the market and it could be surprising a lot of people. And there's going to be one more rate rise coming, probably halfway throughout the year. But I haven't got a crystal ball. Let's see what happens. So this graph here has the breakdown between the different states within the country, as well as regional versus metro areas. So the 6.15% was the average, like I mentioned before. But you've got Sydney growing at 7.7%. You've got Melbourne at 1.33. Then you've got Hobart going backwards, and so is Darwin. So Sydney is chugging along pretty nicely. Melbourne is sort of going up only slightly. There was heaps of new taxes for property investors that came into effect 1 October last year, and this is sort of slowing down the house price growth down there. And then you've got the outliers, which are Brisbane, Adelaide, and Perth, which are absolutely pumping. You've got Perth there, which is not even recording a number. That's how high it is. It's over 15%. Adelaide is around 13%, and Brisbane is around 12%. So the metro areas, the regional areas are still doing pretty well too. But as you can see, the regional areas are keeping up with their metro counterparts in respective states. So you can see if, for example, Brisbane is growing at 12%, so the rest of Queensland is growing 8%. Still less, however, still growing a lot higher than the rest of the states like Sydney and Melbourne because they are actually going off the tailwinds of their own state leader. And then we've got, I think the only one that was going backwards is Hobart, which everyone knows about at the moment, and the rest of Northern Territory is also going back. So this graph here, so this is just basically summarizing the graph before, but on average, you can see that capital cities are growing at about 7%, and the regional areas are growing at about 4%. It sort of dipped last year as rates were starting to increase. As rates increased, the price growth started to drop, but now we're starting to bounce back. I love graphs. So this is just another graph of the summarized data from before. And we can see here, this is the annual home price index for each of the different metro state capitals. So number one is Perth, followed by Adelaide, followed by Brisbane. So they're the top 3 states that are performing in Australia. This is because the cost base of these properties is a lot lower. So the entry point to get into this market is a lot cheaper. And this is why investors are flocking to these areas. They're chasing yield. There's good rental income, which is resulting in good yield. And this is why there's an appreciation in prices. So all the pundits are calling for the market to remain strong throughout 2024. And this is, again, on the hope that the RBA will start cutting rates, and this is what's going to further fuel the market. Again, I don't see this happening. I think the RBA is going to shock everyone and surprise everyone, and there's one more rate hike coming, probably halfway throughout the year. So Sydney and Melbourne are growing, but not as fast, and this is because a lot of stock is coming onto the market. So if there's a lot of stock, buyers have a bit more choice, so they can negotiate with the agents to try and get a better deal. On the contrary side, you've got Brisbane, Adelaide, and Perth, which are absolutely peaking. Buyers don't really have a choice. They are basically paying what the seller wants, sometimes even overs, just to get into the market.
And if interest rates do increase, will you think that will have a big impact on prices or a minuscule amount?
I think it's going to shock a lot of people because the expectation is it's going to go down. So if the market, if the rates go up, then all of a sudden, are they going to keep going up? No one knows. That's going to cause the market to become a lot more. It's going to cause the market to become a bit more cautious about what's coming and to second guess before they just go out there and buy. So I think it's definitely going to have a negative impact. And coupled with that as well, if all of a sudden the government starts talking about reducing the number of migrants, I think those two things put together is going to cause a perfect storm.
Yeah, great answer.
All right. That's it. We'll catch you on the next one.